to what happened yesterday, which means it's that time of the week where we try to get Pearce to buy in on the Titans. It's a little more difficult this week after they barely hold on against the Saints. So, Geoff, tell us why we shouldn't be worried and keep buying those Titans Super Bowl tickets.
I mean, look, they just keep winning games. I mean, I don't know what other proof I need here. It's the team who's rolling out D'Onta Foreman. Do people even remember who that is? Adrian Peterson, Jeremy McNichols. And they're just beating teams with good defenses like the Saints. Look, everyone wants to poke holes in this team. Oh, they don't have a good defense. It's the team with the top 10 pass rush. They've improved on pass defense over the last couple weeks. This defense is ultimately what's carrying this team over the last few weeks. And that's a big development because we've always said if the Titans ever get a defense, we know what they can do on offense, which is they make it work with like Mecole Pruitt and like third string tight ends. So yeah, I don't know why there'd be a reason to be not bullish on this team. If they ever get good news on Derrick Henry coming back from the playoffs, man, you're going to regret not having a little ticket on the Titans late in the season.
Pearce, are you convinced?
No, nothing's changed. Yeah, congratulations. They're winning games. They're not winning games with much style. I know style doesn't matter. All that matters is the win column. And Jeff's right. The defensive line is playing well, but you need a little bit more than a defensive line to win a Super Bowl. I'll say what I've been saying for the last month. This team will not go undefeated in January and February. They just don't have enough weapons in enough spots. You look at the stat sheet at the end of these games, it's ugly. Yes, they're winning. They're pulling these games out, and their schedule's pretty favorable. They'll probably be a number one seed heading into the playoffs. But I just cannot buy into this offense. There's just too many broken parts on this team.
Kenny, Pearce don't care.
Yeah, I don't know what more you need to see, Pearce. I mean, D'Onta Foreman was really good. Really, the last 2 weeks, he's been running really well. I think that he has the potential to fill Derrick Henry's shoes, admirably. I mean, better than most people probably could behind that good offensive line. And the defense, I mean, their red zone defense has been fantastic. I mean, you saw yesterday against the Saints and even in that 2-point conversion situation where they saved the game, like this is a good defense. They've really shown it over the last few weeks. They've actually vaulted up into the top 10 in defensive DVOA with this meteoric rise they've had over the last couple of weeks. And I know that the Saints with Trevor Siemian aren't exactly a good offense, but I think that what Geoff is saying about this offense is absolutely right.
There's no Kamara.
This is a very good defense for the Saints.
Running backs don't matter.
Running backs don't matter. Look at D'Onta Foreman. And also, we've talked about defenses all year, right? The Saints defense all year. The Saints defense is the reason why the Saints are a good football team. It's certainly not their offense. And they pierced, through this Saints defense very, very well with this passing attack. Ryan Tannehill is doing an absolutely outstanding job back there. And I think that this team, ultimately, they get pushed on the rushing attack. I think that they can certainly win some games against good defenses. They proved it on Sunday.
All right, Pearce, we're looking at you. Both the Bills and the Cowboys bounced back after terrible losses last week with big wins. So we all agree both the Bills and Cowboys are back on track, heading for division titles and some playoff wins, right, Pearce?
I suppose so. I'm not going to really overreact. The Bills, their offensive line is healthy. They did what they're supposed to do, and they should win the division, really not based on what they did last week, just based on what we've seen from the entire season. And the Cowboys probably should have won that game. Their defensive coordinator used to be the head coach for the Super Bowl Falcons team. So if anyone knows how to shut down Matt Ryan in an offense that really isn't that good to begin with, it's going to be Dan Quinn. So I'm not overreacting to anything anymore. The way that these weeks go, they both should win their divisions, but it has more to do with the season and not last week. All
right, Kenny, what's your take on this?
Well, I do think that the Cowboys win their division. I think that that's easy. I do think that the Patriots looked really good yesterday, on Sunday rather. And look, that's a team that is dangerous. That's a team that I think more and more people every week are starting to buy in on. And this offense is very good. And what the Bills showed against the Jaguars is that they are susceptible to some of these losses. They're playing the Patriots 2 times coming up. Last year, I know you hate talking about last year, but the Patriots nearly beat the Bills with Cam Newton at quarterback, and he fumbled away the football late in that game. This is a defense that, has really shown up for these divisional games. They've shown up all year, and I don't think there's any reason to believe why the Patriots can't steal at least one game off the Bills in December, maybe 2. And I think that they could make a charge and win this division. I do. So I'm not totally sold on the Bills winning the division. I think that, yes, the smart bet would be, yes, the Bills win the division. But the Patriots, I think, are definitely a contender now in the AFC East. And I also think the Chiefs are kind of back, so maybe the Bills don't really win that many games in the postseason.
Geoff, what do you think? You feel like the Cowboys have smooth sailing, but maybe the Bills not so much?
Yeah, I think that is a good way to put it. I mean, I think that, which it sounds weird to say this, but I think I do kind of trust the Cowboys a little bit more right now. We've seen hiccups from the Bills. If that O-line, takes hits again, can they stand up to pass rushes? They didn't do it against Tennessee, Pearce. So again, I think the Cowboys, all they need to do, Dallas, is just stay healthy because they're winning their division. Are they going to be in contention for the number 1 seed? Maybe too, because now we've seen like the Cardinals are falling back to earth. You've got the Bucs falling back to earth. Like the Cowboys are the team with the momentum. And this is kind of the time of year where you want to have the momentum. It's not the start of the year. It's this time of year where you're trying to stay healthy. You have an easy schedule. The Cowboys can score at will, kind of on the ground or through the air. They've got a playmaker in the back there with Diggs. I just like where they're standing right now. I think these are both 2 quality teams, and I'm not trying to disparage the Bills here. They're still a really good team, but they have to go through the Patriots twice, and we know those are going to be 2 rough games. The Cowboys are literally on smooth sailing here. I really like the spots for them and the Packers coming up. Well, you've got teams like the Bucs now having to deal with the Saints 1 game back. The Cardinals and the Rams going to eat into each other. So I think the Cowboys here are in the better spot.
All right, let's talk about the Patriots. They blew out the Browns, winning their 4th straight. Kenny, you kind of already answered this, so it's not an overreaction, right, to say they have just as good a chance as anyone in the AFC right now?
Yeah, it's definitely not an overreaction, and the AFC is absolutely wild right now. I mean, look, the NFL in general, Pearce made a good point yesterday. We were talking, and he said, like, it's just the hardest year to figure out what's going on in this league because, you have good teams that you think are good, like the Bills losing. The Cardinals, you think they're a fluke, and then they have 1 loss going into a game with Colt McCoy against the Panthers, and they lose. Like, I think that the public opinion of all these teams has shifted so much, but it's because all the volatility, right? So I think that the AFC is wide open. Why can't the Patriots, a team that probably is the most trustworthy and consistent team that we've seen all year, go ahead and win the conference? I think that, they nearly beat the Buccaneers, which was a big test for them. Mac Jones has continued to impress and, get better, improve every single week. And again, we've seen all these teams. The Titans, they're supposed to be, one of the best teams in the AFC. Well, Pearce doesn't believe in them. And, technically, yes, they don't have Derrick Henry and their defense has been up and down. And, you look at the Chiefs, right? They had a good game against the Raiders, but we were all kind of sold on the fact the Chiefs stink this year. So I don't think that really there's one team in the AFC that you say, well, this team's going to hold the Patriots out of the Super Bowl. But why can't the Patriots do it? They've been incredibly consistent all year long.
Jeff, feels like you kind of agree with this.
Oh, absolutely. We've been harping on this since the start of the year. The Patriots could be 9-1 right now. I mean, legitimately, they missed the field goal against Tampa. They fumbled late against Miami, a game they dominated, and then they had an OT loss. I mean, this team had some bad breaks, and they played well throughout the whole year. And does everyone just forget? Like, I threw out the idea that Patriots are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. It's like, do people just forget Bill Belichick is the coach here? I mean, are we just going to say, oh, Bill Belichick's a bad coach now? Is that like the theme? What a ridiculous statement for a guy who's brought teams with Tom Brady and basically just a cast of nobodies to the Super Bowl numerous times in his career. No, the Patriots are a team to be dealt with here. If they get in the playoffs, I guarantee you, whoever they're facing, you're going to hear it. This is the worst matchup ever for us. So, yeah, the Patriots, I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up winning the division. It's going to be tight, those 2 games with Buffalo. Really looking forward to those ones late in the season.
All right, Pearce, what do you think?
Everyone has a chance, not just the Patriots. I mean, literally every team in the NFL has a chance at making the playoffs right now. I truly believe that. You saw the Cardinals, a 1-loss team yesterday, get blown out. The Buccaneers, they lost to Washington. I don't know what's going on. It's like the GameStop AMC season. It's stonk season. You might as well just start betting these long shots because you never know who's going to win from week to week. The Jaguars don't look half bad anymore.
What about the Lions, Pearce? What about the Lions, though?
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only thing that we can count on are the Lions will choke. But if you look through the Lions' record, they could easily be the second-place team in the AFC or the NFC North. It's crazy, but they'll continue to choke. So we can count on that. But everyone else, all other 31 teams, who knows?
Hey, the Lions did not lose, okay? They tied. Chiefs beat up on the Raiders last night and lead the AFC West. All is right in Kansas City. Mahomes and the offense is back. No more worries about the Chiefs until the playoffs. Is that an overreaction, Jeff?
I don't think it's an overreaction. This is just like the perfect storm. It's like, it took until about week 10 for everybody to finally say, oh, the Chiefs are terrible. And look, I've included in this. And, Patrick Mahomes is going through a rough patch. We don't need to worry about the Chiefs this year. They're not good this year. It took until week 10 for everybody to get on that boat. And legitimately, everybody was on that boat. Everybody last week was saying how bad and against the spread team the Chiefs were. Mahomes is throwing too many picks. I think Pearce said the Raiders are the better team. We're all stupid is basically what happened. Yeah, the Chiefs still even as terrible as they were, they brought a 5-4 record into that game last night against the Raiders. Yes, they're the better team than the Raiders. Of course they are. No, they're going to cruise here. The Chargers are bad, as we found out the last 3 weeks. The Raiders are the Raiders. The Broncos, they're just playing out the string. The Chiefs are going to win this division. They're probably, just like the Patriots, they're going to have a chance too. So I think they definitely got it together. I think Mahomes probably going to carry him to the division win. And don't be shocked if you're sitting there and you're seeing the Chiefs back in the AFC conference game, championship game late in the season.
Pearce, do you agree? Not an overreaction here?
No, it's not an overreaction. We can't overreact enough this year. Like, what do we have to do? I mean, yes, I thought the Chiefs were done. They were terrible, and they come out and they look great. Now the Raiders looked awful. They couldn't tackle, and they had plenty of penalties that killed them. So maybe, did the Chiefs fix things, or is it the Raiders that are broken? I don't know. It changes from week to week. The Chiefs looked pretty broken up until yesterday, and now all of a sudden they look great. They could go on a giant run and win the Super Bowl, and I would not be surprised whatsoever. The defense if they've gotten this far with that bad of a defense, it can improve, and we know what the offense is capable of. If you can get pretty good odds on these guys, I would definitely take them, especially Mahomes. I'm sure now his MVP odds are not very good anymore.
All right, Kenny, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I love that we talked about how no teams are bad, but then the Broncos and the Chargers, they're definitely bad, and the Raiders are bad. I agree with that, actually. But look, the Raiders were a top 5 defense against the pass, statistically, passing yards per game, yards per attempt. And Patrick Mahomes went for over 400 yards against them. He absolutely shredded them. It was like old times, right? He's always dominated the Raiders. Everyone said this year would be different. And we even saw a fake punt come out. This is a team that, first of all, played incredibly well on offense, which was my biggest concern. Everyone wanted to talk about how bad this defense is. And we weren't even focusing on the fact that Patrick Mahomes was missing throws. Everything just seems back to normal, right? The play calling was good. Travis Kelce was getting himself open. And I think that I'm ready to say that this team is absolutely back. We absolutely can't overreact enough. And the thing is about this against the spread record, everyone wanted to point to the fact that the Chiefs can't cover. Well, it's because the odds makers have overrated the Chiefs for the last year and a half, right? We've had these 7-8 point spreads. Even against the Giants, they were 10-point favorites. Like, what are we doing here? They come into this game 2.5 point favorites against the Raiders. Finally, a game where we could bet on the Chiefs, and they actually won and covered. Look, I just think that, of course, the meme is, right, they covered like 20 points or whatever. But I think the thing is, we're kind of looking at that number without context. And the context is that the Chiefs were winning a lot of football games, but they were just grinding the clock down, slowing the pace in the second half, and not running away with games. And I think that maybe we'll see a sense of urgency now that they were 5-4 coming into this game. It looks like they really had a sense of urgency from the get-go. The middle of games, they were just, lackadaisical, going through the motions. This is a different football team. I think that they realize that they can't just sit back, relax, and win, 10, 11 games. They actually have to try. So I think that we'll see the Chiefs win a lot of football games from here on out.
All right, guys, we know it's unlikely that the MVP award goes to a running back, but Jonathan Taylor put up his 5th 100-plus yard rushing day against the Jags. Again, there are 13 quarterbacks with better odds than his plus 10,000 for MVP, but he's behind 4 guys at plus 2,000 for Offensive Player of the Year. Is that maybe a bet you're interested in, Pearce?
It actually is. Normally I would say, nope, you can't give it to a running back, and you can't give it to a running back that plays for a team that doesn't have a great record, and the Colts aren't flashy, and he's not flashy, but it's 2021, and we don't know what's going to happen from week to week, and it seems like the year to take long shots, so why not chase this one? And why not chase even deeper? Christian McCaffrey, if the Panthers all of a sudden turn it around and they go on a run, and he can stop having cramp issues on the sideline, maybe you get some pretty good odds on him. Maybe Jamar Chase coming out of the bye, and the Bengals go on a run. I would take one of these deep long shots based on the craziness that we've seen this season. So I wouldn't rule out Taylor.
Kenny, you enticed by this bet at all?
Look, there's a reason why Cooper Kupp is plus 125 in this award, and it's because he's basically won it already. And the reason is, not only is he statistically, the best offensive player in football, now there's no Robert Woods. He's going to continue to get even more and more targets, and Odell Beckham's there to kind of offset that loss, where they're not going to just focus, they're not going to double team Cooper Kupp every single game. I think it's kind of dangerous to take anybody, frankly. I'm not going to take Cooper Kupp at plus 125, but look, I do think that, Kyler Murray is a guy for MVP, and for Offensive Player of the Year, frankly, where I'm kind of looking at him, right? It's plus 1,600 for MVP. I believe he's plus 1,800 for Offensive Player of the Year. This is a Cardinals team that clearly needs him, right? And this is a team that I think is going to probably only lose 2 or 3 games the rest of the season. They're very good. And I think that what we've seen from all these other MVP candidates and all these other Offensive Player of the Year candidates is they are human, right? Josh Allen had that terrible game against the Jaguars. We've seen Dak Prescott struggle in games this year. I don't think anybody has really grabbed hold of this award at the MVP, that is. And so I think that maybe I'm looking at Kyler Murray when he comes back from injury, just absolutely starts dominating the league again, because he was, to me, the MVP of the league, early in the season. I think he could certainly get back to that. There's still enough time. We're only halfway through the season. So I'm actually looking at him for both of those awards. Don't hate Taylor either. I mean, he's been fantastic, but I'm always scared of taking a guy when there's a clear favorite this early in the season.
Jeff, what do you think about Jonathan Taylor's odds, or is there another long shot that really sticks out to you?
I'm still just trying to recover from seeing that James Conner is plus 1,800 to win this award. I think both guys make good points. It is hard to bet against Cooper Kupp, but we've still got a long way to go in the season. Injuries can happen. Maybe there's a shift in targeting. He goes 2 games with 6 targets or something, and that could happen with Odell Beckham. Who knows? I think both Taylor and I also like Tyreek Hill here at plus 4,000. 8 touchdowns already. He's on pace to set a career high in receptions. If Cooper Kupp, just dips for 2 weeks, and then Tyreek Hill, smashes out a couple 100-yard games, these odds can flip really quickly. I think Taylor is a good bet too. If I was betting this, it would be 2 long shots. It'd be Taylor and Tyreek Hill. Taylor's averaging almost 6 yards per carry. Yeah, it's a tight one. It's tough, but I do think there's a little bit of value there taking these long shot guys, just because of where we are in the year. So much can still happen to a guy like Kupp.